Pictures look best when the player is set to the full screen mode. If you hold down the Alt key at the bottom of the keyboard and then press the Enter key, you will be in the full screen mode. Move your cursor arrow to the center of the screen and then don't move the mouse anymore. The picture will soon open to fill the entire screen. The trip started with an early morning drive from Santa Maria to the Los Angeles airport. I got there about 5 in the morning, parked my car, checked in, and finally boarded the plane. We had a big delay once out on the runway. Later on I found out that there was a security incident at the airport, but we finally took off. What can I say about the American Airlines flight except that it was a long 5 hours to Kennedy Airport outside of New York City, and the lunch was really poor. The much longer 10-hour Egypt Air flight was a lot nicer with better food, and I even got some real sleep. When we landed in Cairo, I was able to get a visa at the airport for only $15, and it only took a few minutes to get it. Once on the ground at the Cairo airport, we were greeted by the tour staff and divided into 4 different groups of about 25 each. I was in the red group, and here's my guide Emer on the left center of the picture waving his arm. After customs, we boarded waiting buses for the long drive to Cairo. We drove through the heart of Cairo west to our hotel. We finally arrived at the beautiful Marriott Palace Hotel in the fashionable Zamalek district. Our hotel was probably the nicest hotel I've ever stayed in. The Palace Hotel was originally built for European royalty visiting Egypt for the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 and has been a beautiful residence ever since. Walking through the corridors and looking into the various meeting rooms and ballrooms, I was extremely impressed with the quality and beauty of the decorations. Each room had the most beautiful and elaborate crystal chandeliers I have ever seen. The rugs and the paneling on the roofs and the walls were likewise very impressive. We finally got to a beautiful room where we were greeted by the staff, given some instructions on how to find our rooms, and a welcome drink, which, to my great disappointment, but not to my surprise, was non-alcoholic. After all, this being a Muslim country. After the long trip, I was groggy, to say the least. But the tour staff realized this and gave us easy-to-follow instructions on how to find our rooms and what to do next. And they nicely repeated those instructions until we all understood them. When I got to my room, I was impressed with how nice it was. Each room had a balcony overlooking the beautiful gardens at the center of the hotel complex. And to think, I had this room all to myself and I didn't have to pay extra for it. At the center of the gardens are outdoor dining and party facilities. Every night they would have weddings and other parties with authentic live Egyptian music. I wish I could have gotten some recordings of the music because it sounded exotic in the extreme. The next 2 pictures show the water pipes where Egyptians of both sexes smoked fragrant tobacco filtered through these elaborate and highly decorated devices. Right there in the garden, women baked the traditional flat bread used by the hotel restaurants. In the early evening of the first day, we met at the Queen's Room as our first introduction to what's coming up on the trip. I was surprised at how few people there were, and that the people tended to huddle in their own little groups. I didn't feel the groups were particularly friendly or welcoming, so I finally found a place by myself at the far end of the room. The next morning, and I slept well and was refreshed by morning, we were introduced to our guides. Each group had its own guide, and my group's guide was Emer. He's the guy wearing the vest to the left of center. At the meeting, the morning of the next day, they gave a good talk on ancient Egypt, and we officially started our tour. After lunch, we were driven across the Nile to the famous Cairo Museum. On the way out to the Cairo Museum, while riding on the bus, I was thinking about the weather. I was expecting Egypt to be unbearably hot, but I was surprised that it wasn't that bad. I was also surprised that the humidity was high. I was expecting Egypt to be very dry, but after all, this was the Delta region. I was also very surprised at how hazy it was. I suspected the visibility was less than 10 miles most of the time we were there in Cairo. First, I have to apologize for lack of pictures here. We were told to leave cameras on the bus, so I don't have anything to show you of the museum itself or anything inside. The museum was certainly one of the highlights of the trip for me because it is filled with the most wonderful things on earth. Since we got there rather early, I had the King Tut room pretty much to myself, and I could gaze as long as I wanted at all the golden artifacts and all the wonderful things that were found in King Tut's tomb. I also paid the small extra and went into the royal mummy room. Words in my time here cannot possibly describe what's in that museum. I will say this though, the museum was built over 100 years ago and the artifacts are not displayed as well as they could be. On our way out to the pyramids the following day, we saw the huge complex now under construction, which will be the new museum, and when it's complete, it will be wonderful. Probably worth the trip to Egypt just to see it.